Hi there, my name's Daniel and I'm joined today with Ruth. We work for the product team at Guroo Learning and we're going to take you through the release deep dive that we've just released this morning. There's lots of features to cover, some big, some small, but yeah, we'll give you the gist of what's just come out. So the first thing that we want to talk about is the navigation. We've made huge changes to the navigation. So basically, it's a completely new revamp. It looks like a completely new system. We've removed the header. We've added a new floating left-hand menu to the side, which is pretty much a consistent menu, which offers all the platform level actions in one place. We've then consolidated the menu that used to be across the top inside a program into the left-hand, and we've separated that to be focused areas depending on what your program role is. So that's now separated into three views, which is the learner view, the facilitator and coordinator view, and then the edit view. The biggest change there being the facilitator view. So all the actions that a facilitator needs to do now is done within this facilitator view, and we'll go into more detail on that in a minute. And all the learner actions are now specific for if you want to view the program as a learner would. So why have we made this change? It's to give us more flexibility around delivering everything that we've promised in our roadmap for 2025. It maximizes screen space for improved learner experience, and it also modernizes our platform design. So I'm going to talk a bit about the dedicated facilitator view. So basically, this view is designed as a dedicated space for facilitators to be able to focus on the things that they need to do within a program. So all of anything that they need to do is listed down the side. We've shuffled some things around, but the idea is it's meant to reduce distraction for the facilitator, given the dedicated view, so that they know what they need to do and know where to access it easily. We've added a new dedicated facilitator homepage. So this is dedicated purely to facilitators to provide them with the information that they need at a top level really quickly. So this is very much the, I guess, the MVP or first version of this screen. So at the moment, it has a new class progress dashboard that allows us to show you all the progress of all your class cohort. It will display notices like it did in the old view, and it will also show your class list if you have that feature turned on for the community. So this is very much the first version of this. We will be enhancing this over time. So some of the things we'll be adding here are action summaries so that you can get a quick view of the tasks that you need to do. We'll be adding some AI at-risk insights, so give you some smart summaries on the learners who are at risk and why. And we'll be updating the session view to give you some clear scheduling information around what sessions you have to do and when they're coming up. We've made huge changes to the class list. So we've separated this out into a whole bunch of different views. And we've also added this progress dashboard at the top here so that you can keep track of where the learners are up to. But pretty much, to give you a gist of what we've done is we've separated out enrolled learners. So this is where you can track active learners within the program. Program application. So if a program is application enrollment only, then you can view and manage those applications directly from the class list. Prior to this, you had to do it through the platform actions outside of the program. Pending payments, you can track learners who are yet to finalize the payment of their programs. Facilitators and coordinators. So we've merged the facilitator and coordinators into one screen. This is where you can create and manage all the facilitators and coordinators within the program. Coaches, this is where you add coaches and assign learners to coaches. Learner observers, people who are enrolled in the program or they're not enrolled in the program, they're observers of the program. So they experience the program as a learner would, but they aren't actively enrolled. So when they complete a program, they won't earn a badge and they don't count towards any of the reporting or anything like that. Cancelled enrolments. So these are the people who have been withdrawn from the program so that they've got a clear separation within the class list. And all program users. So this is where you can access and export all participants within the program itself. We've updated the workflows for when we're adding users. So each program user role will have a different workflow. So this involves when you're enrolling a learner in a program, if the program is paid, then you can select a payment plan for that particular user. You then follow through the enrollment processes, much like you do in the catalog when you're enrolling in a program. So this kind of combines the old ad user and the new paying learner feature together into one experience, so that the flow updates depending on what the type of program is. With coordinators and facilitators, it's the same form, but you can also turn on features here for their public biography. So if they're going to appear on a public catalogue, or if they're going to appear in onboarding, then we can add that information at that time, and then the user doesn't necessarily have the facilitator. I know a lot of them don't actually log into the platform, but we can put their public profile on as we add them without them having to log in and do it themselves. And with coaches, the same thing, very much the same workflow. We don't have to select the plan, obviously, for these people because they don't do the program, but you can assign learners as they go through the enrollment process.
Oh, that's me. Another update we introduced here is our calendar view for facilitators and coordinators. We added this smart action menu that allows facilitators to easier manage their sessions, like join webinars and mark attendance, all from one place. And I guess I called it smart action menu as it will automatically update the default action displayed depending on the status of the session and the settings that you apply to it. And for example, if a session is in the past, it will obviously no longer display join a session. And if you set it to mark attendance in your settings, it will then flip over to mark attendance. We will be working on adding more actions like uploading session recordings and adding an extra view that filters out the sessions important for the facilitators, but that's to come, so keep an eye out for that.
So manage content availability. So previously this was managed via the learner view. When the facilitator and learner view were combined, this was something that was managed at a section by section basis by working through the learning journey. So as the learner view is now dedicated to viewing the learner, what the learner would see, we've added this new screen within the facilitate area to manage any locked content or sections within that program. So when you come to this screen, it will only show sections that are currently locked, and you can manually unlock them there. If they've been set to unlock at a scheduled time, it will tell you when it's scheduled to unlock, but you can manually unlock that whenever you need to. Evaluation management. This again was something that used to sit in the old view. So if a facilitator clicked on the evaluation screen within the learning journey, they had the option to unlock the evaluation if it was currently locked. And once it was unlocked, it would show you a report of how people are progressing through the evaluation. We've just taken exactly what was in that other view and moved it into this manage evaluation screen, which is under manage cohort in facilitation view. We've also added a button there to link directly to the evaluation dashboard, should you want to do that. Next, we'll talk about the updated learner experience. I'll hand this one over to Ruth.
Okay. So starting here with the learner homepage, you can see we've redesigned the progress bar to ensure we clearly display the learner's progress status, especially with the new ability to have graded programs, but more about graded programs a bit later. So not only did we update the titles here in line, if you look at the bigger square in the middle, you can see we updated the titles in line with the learner status. We also added more information around the activity status. So if you look at this example here, you can see that I've got 2 activities in review, and I now have this accordion here that allows me to find out exactly which activities are in review, and I can even click on them to go inside the activity in the program. And then additionally, for graded programs, we added a quick shortcut to the grading scale. And again, the goal here is to give learners as much clearer view of their progress and their grading status, so they basically know exactly where they're at. The next one, so talking about learners' progress, we also refreshed the status icons in the learner journey to make progress tracking, I guess, clearer for the learner. So as you can see here in a bit more detail, we now use a full green circle for activities that are completed upon submission or on viewing. And we reserve the green tick circle for activities that have been reviewed and received a successful outcome. And to show learners that an activity is in review, we introduced a half green circle. So that's new. This helps indicate that the learner has completed the activity, but there may still be feedback or an action required on their end. As before, we still use the red circle with an exclamation mark to show that actions are required from the learner. And now, if needed, a reviewer can even mark the final outcome as unsuccessful, which will be shown with a red circle featuring that white little cross. So these status circles are updated across the learning journey to display on page, section, content pages, and the activity progress. So program overview update. So we wanted to ensure that learners are able to access important program information a bit easier than going through review onboarding. We therefore integrated key onboarding information like the batch credentials, who's on the program team, location and support details into several sub-pages. So no longer do we have the review onboarding, it's now all here, easy to reach. We also added the option to assign a program role title to facilitators and coordinators during the onboarding setup. So this title will display here in the program overview and in onboarding, and it's just making it easier to distinguish the primary facilitator from a guest facilitator or other roles that apply to your specific program. And that's back to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Ruth. The next thing we want to talk you through is the new full screen view. So we've introduced a new full screen view, which is used for a variety of different things. You'll see it popping up throughout the application. You'll already see it in some places now, but we'll be growing this over time. But the idea is that whenever you leave a screen that has the root context in relation to the left-hand navigation, we'll now display this in a full screen view. As you can see, it has a title and it has a big bold button in the top right-hand corner, which is a back to whatever label. So the reason we've done this is to reduce the amount of pop-ups that we have in the application. It's also to remove or reduce confusion around context and how the current screen that you're viewing relates to the active navigation state of the left-hand menu. It maximizes screen space, and it also sets us up for being able to expand on features and maybe even add secondary left-hand navigation in the future. So we've added this to a number of places at the moment. So whenever a learner accesses an activity, most of them are going to be in this state. So this includes tasks, digital modules, videos, assessments, all sorts of activities. So most of them you'll see in this new view. It also has been added to reviewing and marking screens. So if you're reviewing a task or marking an assessment, you'll have this view. We've added it to the grade book, so that'll be context sensitive depending on how you access the grade book. So there's multiple entry points to that. So that back button is context sensitive and will return you to the page that you came from. We've added it to the reports and dashboards, and we've also added it to the program enrollments via pathways. And I'll talk about pathways a bit further into the presentation, as I will gradebook. I'll explain that concept a bit more.
Sessions and locations, that's back to me. I think we start, first this one is locations. I don't know if you picked up on it. I mentioned it briefly earlier. So you now have the option to add your primary program location to onboarding and into the program overview. And to make this even more valuable for learners, we've added 2 new optional fields to the address book. So you can include a map image and extra directions to help your learners to find the location, or some tips around the parking. We just thought this location information would be very helpful. And it can also be pulled into your session reminders and enrollment emails. With our 2 new location variables that we've created when you're setting up your email templates. Again, in the future, we're planning to make this information available on the session calendar and probably within a program post, so keep an eye out for that. So this one is probably a smaller update, but it was a very important one because it let us target conflict alerts to specific coordinators. So since coordinators oversee multiple programs, we wanted to reduce unnecessary alerts when they're not directly involved in particular sessions. So just like with session facilitators, you can now assign a specific session coordinator to each session. And then only the assigned coordinator will be included in the session conflict check. So keeping things more focused and relevant, I guess. And I think just if you keep going, Daniel, sorry, it's just kind of in line. And since we're working on that one, we also just gave the session report an overview UI refresh. We matched our table design to our new modern look and feel, the platform, and we also improved the warnings with 2 distinctive icons, as you can see here. I've got a triangle to indicate when a facilitator has been assigned, and a count to show the numbers of individual session conflicts. And session reminders. So we've got one more update here. We expanded the session reminder functionality to allow targeting specific program roles, especially now that we've got the session coordinator. So you can either target all of them, or you can include just learners or facilitators, session facilitators, and then obviously the newly added session coordinator, which means that you can tailor communication for different program roles and ensure the right people receive the relevant reminders. Back to you.
Thanks. Just some updates on dashboards and reporting. So we've added a new report, which is the transaction report. So this is for financial reporting, but it gives visibility into transactions made through the platform through 3, I guess, distinct views. One at a top level transaction. So any payment that's been completed within the platform. Then at the transaction item view, so that that digs deeper down into the transaction itself at the actual transaction item, so you can see enrollment details and cost breakdowns for the individual enrollees, and then the abandoned transactions, which allows us to monitor people who have started the enrollment process but not completed it, and we can get some insights into the user behavior on where people might be dropping off. We've updated the learner progress dashboard. So I'll talk about it a bit more further down the track, but we've introduced the concept of graded programs. So we've also done a bit of an overhaul on learner statuses throughout that program. So there is a couple of new statuses here. A learner can start as not started. They can then move to in progress, and then pending assessment. So pending assessment is when a learner has completed all of their activities, however, they're still waiting for certain tasks or assessments to be reviewed or marked from an assessor. Once they've done that, if it's a graded program, they will then move to this concept of being graded, and then they get their final outcome, whether it be successful or unsuccessful. We've also added a new status here, which is did not complete. So this means that we can now mark learners who start a program but never complete it to did not complete, and the benefit of this is that people aren't stuck in progress forever. But this learning progress dashboard gives us all of that information at the top level, just by looking at that. And then we've also updated the actual statuses of each individual activity. So you can see a lot of more, some activities on this dashboard have a lot more colored dots than what others do. And that's because different activities have different states. So they're not all the same. So something like a document or a link has two states, which is not started or completed. Whereas some of these tasks and assessment activities have a lot of different states because they go through different review processes and they have different outcomes. So we have a lot more, this report has a lot more in-depth data into different activities based on what those different statuses might be. Just a quick note on the dietary report. This used to be found in the class list. It's now been moved to the program dashboards area. We've also given it a UI overhaul. So we've updated it to be more aligned with our current platform.
Oh, these are the theme. These as a UI designer, I'm really excited about these two. So the first one is our themed icon sets. So when setting up your platform now, you can your platform theme, sorry, I should say, you can now select from 6 different icon styles. So while we kept the existing dotted line icon style, we added, as you can see here, 5 new styles that might be better aligned with your branding. So these icons we're talking about here are those used in the new left-hand navigation bar, here shown on the side. And in all stock activity icons. Important is here that when you use icons for the activity, use the stock icons. And additionally, we've added more options to the stock icon library to help you create a consistent and unified look across your platform. The next one is the callouts. So we expanded the theme by introducing 3 theme callout styles that you can apply to text objects, making it easier to highlight key information. You can also now add icons or thumbnail images to your text objects, just making them a bit more engaging and easier to read. But again, this is optional. By default, the text will still display at its plain format, and you can change that in your settings. Equally, you can now customize the design of your activity block that you can see here up on the top, which helps visually emphasize that there's something important for the learners to do. So tasks, assessments, diagnostics, any activity basically you can highlight differently. And I guess it just gives you another greater design flexibility, so you can ensure the platform aligns perfectly with your brand style.
Platform announcement banners. So this is very similar to what a program has with, I guess, a program notice, except this is platform-wide. So this would be used by system administrators to set up announcements that are important to specific user groups that are using the platform. So I guess that's the important thing to point out there, is that these messages can be targeted to specific groups of users, and we can communicate information that's important to them. So we have some options here for allowing people to be able to dismiss the message, or whether or not it just constantly stays for a certain amount of time until we turn it off, basically. But yeah, that's there now. And in terms of the way it looks, it just picks up on the platform theme, so it'll be consistent with the notices that appear within the program. Pathway enhancements, we've made a few UX improvements to pathways. So it's more streamlined now with the catalog enrollment process. It also utilizes the new full screen view. It's mobile friendly, so it looks great on mobile now. And we've just added a few extra little things here in terms of being able, when enrolling in a program via the pathway. So we have the program overview button, which provides more information on the program, but for people who want to just enroll in that program because the session suits them, then they can just bypass that at the moment and go directly to enroll. Once enrolled, there's also a new button that we've added, which encourages people to enroll in another program. And yeah, so that's coming. And I guess I've bookended this presentation with the two major features. So the first one was the changes to the navigation, which is obviously has a huge impact. The other one is the gradebook, which is a big feature that we're rolling out. So the gradebook is an optional feature for programs to enable programs to be graded. So when we talk about grading, we have different, it supports different types of grading. So you can have the formal high distinction to fail grading if that's what you want. But if you're looking for something a bit softer, we have the competency-based grading. So something like successful to unsuccessful rather than fail to high distinction. So it's very flexible on the way that you want to grade your programs. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a very scary formal grading process if you want to introduce some grading things. This is more about, you know, identifying what somebody should have to do within a program in order to successfully complete it. So the gradebook, there's a few different grading methods that we can set up for a program. So I guess two main options are, you can have a outcome-based grading method, which is manually graded, so manually assessed and reviewed, I guess. So there isn't an overall program score that you have to get in order to pass. So this is more about reviewing people at the end of the program once they've completed everything and defining where on that grading scale that they fall. And then there's the scored grading method, which is you can set it up so that you apply a score to your different activities, and then depending on the grading scale that you select, it'll audit the system. Once someone has completed all activities, it will automatically score them, assign them an outcome based on that score. And that will ultimately define whether or not the learner is successful or unsuccessful in completing the program. So looking at this image that we have here, this is the gradebook screen. So this gives a complete view of learner progress within the program. So all the activities that you see in this table, they're the summative activities. So they're the activities that count towards the overall program grade. There are other activities that the learners may be required to complete within the program that don't count towards the overall grade. So you can see them under the incomplete required activities tab, so just so you can keep track of what a learner still needs to complete before they get graded. So we've added some statuses to help with that. So once a learner, I mentioned it before in the learner progress dashboard, so some of these new statuses are pending assessment. So again, that is when someone has gone through, they've completed all their activities, but you can see in this table, some of those activities are marked as ready for review. So that means that they've done the activity on their end. It still needs to be reviewed though before they get moved into the awaiting grading status, which is they've completed everything, you've marked everything. It's just now a matter of going in and applying a final grade and publishing and making that available to the learner. So with the grade release options, we can do it manually so that you manually release the grades as you want to. You can set it up so that it's scheduled so that all grades will be released to learners at a specific date and time, or you can set it up to be automatic, which means that this one works mainly for scored grading methods. So if you have a program where someone has to complete a quiz, they get graded, and then they will automatically get published to them at the same time. So there's different configurations and options here for how someone might want to use the gradebook and graded programs. But again, this is not something that needs to be added to all programs. This is something that is optional. So programs can still just be the learner completes everything and earns their badge. But with the graded programs, if a learner unsuccessfully completes the program, they will not earn their badge. And this is the learner view. So a learner will get a screen dedicated to just summarising their summative activities that they need to complete in the left-hand menu of their learning journey. So this gives them an idea of the different activities that actually impact the program grade. So activities, if they're scored, they can be weighted. So they know exactly what activities are weighted for what, which ones are more important than the others and could contribute more to their grade. This is where they can view the grading scales or assessment outcomes so that they know what's expected of them in order to reach the different outcomes. And it's also where they come after their grades have been released to them to get their final outcome, their score, and any feedback that's been provided to them. So that's the learner view of my gradebook. Thank you.
Thank you.